Bears camp has had no shortage of news this offseason, and with padded practice getting underway this week, there is one story coming out of camp that I think has a chance to tell us a lot about this new regime that I want to focus on, the Teven Jenkins story. Last year, a lot of Bears fans, including myself, were excited when they moved up to get Justin Fields, but the other move the Bears made was arguably just as important, trading up to the 39th overall pick to get Teven Jenkins. At the time, he was projected to be the starting left tackle going forward for the Chicago Bears. The Bears believed this so much, they were willing to cut their starting left tackle Charles Leno Jr., which means they got nothing in return, something that's basically unheard of for a guy who can start at left tackle, something he did for Washington all 17 games of last season. Unfortunately, Jenkins was hurt a large portion of last season and only appeared in 6 games, starting only 2 of those games. So much like everything that happened last year, it was pretty much a total failure and a wash, so it was hard to gauge how he was going to perform at the NFL level. Which brings us to now. The Bears have been practicing in pads, and he's been a no-show for all of the practices. Eberflus has stated that he is working with trainers, but no specifics have been given. Another concerning bit of news is that he was no longer even considered for the left tackle position at all. A left tackle is considered the most important and difficult position to play on the line, so it tells us that this regime and the previous one certainly have different evaluations on him. The previous one thought he was so good that they could just let a starter walk. The current one hasn't seen him practicing with the ones at all. On top of all of this, there have been rumblings from local Chicago reporters, such as David Kaplan of NBC Chicago, that Jenkins is not meshing with the coaching staff and has maturity issues. Which leads to the biggest news, with it being reported that teams have been in contact with the Bears, interested in acquiring Jenkins, and the Bears have been listening. This is a huge red flag for me for a few reasons, the main one being just how starved the Bears are for talent on the O-line. If the Bears are willing to shop him, he's either A, not nearly as talented as the previous regime thought, or B, such a problem in terms of behavior that regardless of that talent, the new regime doesn't think he's worth the headache. Now, the tape you've seen on the screen for the last couple of minutes has been Teven Jenkins in college, and I'm no O-line expert, but his motor and strength jump off the screen here, and it was reported that the teams were reaching out to the Bears, not the other way around, so it leads me to believe that the issues with Jenkins are either attitude or injury. If it is an injury, then the reporting that's going on right now is just irresponsible, and a lot of this is just conjecture. But if it is quote-unquote attitude, it leads me to have serious questions about this coaching staff. Now, I'd explain why, but I think Mike Tomlin explains what I want to say better than I ever could in this clip from The Pivot, a podcast hosted by Ryan Clark, former NFL safety for the Steelers. Here's what Tomlin had to say.
It's because you have to micromanage a lot of men, a lot of kids, a lot of guys that will come in here that you're depending on to help your team.
I'm going to cut you off because I laugh at that all the time. Management, right? Like, that's what the hell we paid to do. I love to hear coaches resist the responsibility of coaching.
What'd you say, Coach? What'd you just say, Coach?
They talk negatively about a dude that can't learn and blah, blah. Man, if everybody could learn, we need less coaches.
Yeah, that's real.
Right? If the group didn't need management, then we wouldn't make as much.
Yep.
I love reading draft evals and somebody's talking about anything other than pedigree. Talking about how poor somebody's hand usage is. Well, that's coaching. Right. I don't run away from coaching. I run to coaching. When you're a coach that's talking about somebody can't learn, you're seeking comfort because your teaching is struggling.
Yep.
Wow.
Teven Jenkins is too young, too talented, and the Bears have invested too much for them to move on from him now, considering O-line is one of the biggest weaknesses on the team. This reeks of a coaching staff and front office who think they can make something out of nothing, and it doesn't give me faith that Justin Fields is going to have the protection he needs to develop going forward. There's a good chance that we're looking at a bottom-of-the-barrel offensive line getting our franchise quarterback killed yet again this year, while Charles Leno is starting all 17 games at left tackle for Washington, as he did last year, and Jenkins is proving why he had such high grades in last year's draft for a different franchise, and the Bears would have nobody to blame but themselves. For more Bears stuff, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think of this whole Teven Jenkins situation, if you think we should cut bait, or let me know if you agree with me and think that we should give him another shot. Until the next time, take it easy, everyone. Bear down.